What up, Steak? This is the NFL Primetime Slate, Monday, Thursday for Week 13 lineup build show. I'm joined here today by my two guests, Johnny the Greek. You can follow him on Twitter at GDaddy80. And, of course, my young Padawan learner himself. It's Star Wars season, so I'm going to start using a lot of Star Wars references. Cam, you can follow him at Cam 80 DFS, Cam G DFS. Get all these damn, I don't even have them. Anyways, and then of course you can follow me on Twitter at Patio Joe Ref. What's up, guys? How you doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, Johnny, how you doing? Good.
I'm doing well. If you guys followed my picks, besides the Jordan Howard landmine, you made a bunch of money this weekend. So. I hope that went well for you guys.
Yeah, we could do a whole 2-hour lineup show on how the chalk absolutely did not perform up to standards. We could use other choice words for them, but we won't. So, but today we're here talking about this juicy 2-game slate involving two of the best maybe three of the best running backs in the game and three of the best receivers in the game. So you'd think we have a good slate, fit in a lot of guys we want. But believe it or not, we're going to do some lineup builds for FanDuel and DraftKings. But to me, I feel like quarterback is like almost the question of like, who's it going to be this week? Who are you going to go at? So we're just going to get right into it right now and start doing our lineup for this week. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to get into FanDuel. We're just going to get right into the quarterbacks and such. So here we are, guys. Cam, where are you going to be looking at quarterback to start off with? And we got 4 options. Where are we going to go? Where are we looking at?
For me, I'll have some interest in Drew Brees a little bit on this slate. Atlanta's defense is all right, but I just don't trust Matt Ryan at all. They're so up and down, and the Saints defense has been playing pretty well this year. And I don't know, I just don't trust Matt Ryan ever. And then the next guy that I would think about targeting would be Ben Roethlisberger at 7.7K. If you check out his game logs, he's been absolutely killing it. They've been throwing a lot more recently. Hopefully that trend would continue. If you can get 45 attempts out of him on a short slate, he definitely has that huge upside that we're looking for in tournaments. So those are the two guys that I would be looking at.
Yeah. And what about you, Johnny?
Yeah, so I love these 2-game NFL slates. I make a lot of money because of them. Sometimes I'll make more money on these 2-game slates than I do on the main slate, just because people play the chalk and they don't know where to go. So because there's so little options on the slate, you have 3, maybe 4 viable quarterback options. Depending on what you think of Andy Dalton and Pittsburgh Steelers defense against them, but. You want to go off the board a little bit here, because of what you just said about Matt Ryan. I like Matt Ryan as an option. I like Andy Dalton as an option because in these tournaments, the only way you're going to win or make money is if you do go off the board, because everybody's going to have the same lineup because the player pool is so small and condensed. So what I'll typically do in a slate like this, I don't start at quarterback because there's really not a lot of options at the top. And maybe I don't want to do a differential play with Matt Ryan or playing Andy Dalton. Because Ben Roethlisberger and Drew Brees are going to be the chalk for sure. So what I'm going to do, for me, what I would do typically to start this slate out is I would to look at the running back options and then the wide receivers and build there first, and then I would just fill the rest of my lineup in based on what I've gone there, because the running back options here are going to make or break the slate, and then your receiving options are going to be the differential plays, and then tight end it's a wasteland. There's only 3 options there. There's one at the top, and then there's only $200 in between the one at the top and the one second, and then kickers and defense is really never any options. So I always say for me, my build is always to start on FanDuel, especially with the running back, wide receiver, especially this week with the build, and go from there.
All right, yeah, and just to let you know, guys, this is just kind of like a first look kind of lineup recommendation kind of thing. We're not going to totally build like a whole lineup. We're just going to kind of give you where to go. But that being said, I'll be the deciding breaker. We'll just start off. We'll throw out a quarterback. I'm just gonna throw out. I'm not gonna go with the chalk. Let's go with Matt Ryan, and assume that Lattimore, even if he's back, his ankle is not going to be very good. So, and then let's just pick what one running back do you think we would want to start with? Do we want to just go Kamara or Bell just because that's going to be the chalk, or Johnny, who would you go with just to start your core?
Man, I would say that if Bell's going to be the chalk for sure, and then Kamara's going to be down the road. I mean, I would try to jam in two guys. My thought process on this build is to go down to maybe Dalton and then throw in Bell and Kamara. I think you need to get those two guys in your lineup, in my opinion. But for just one, I would say Kamara. I think because he's not getting a lot of touches and he's still doing what he's doing. I mean, just imagine if something happens to Ingram or if he gets more touches in a game. I mean, the guy is just the beast. So I think that Kamara is probably the preferred play for me, and then Bell would probably be number 2, and then I would probably throw Freeman in under him. So that would probably be my top 3.
Yeah, my thing is with Kamara is we all know that the Falcons give up a lot of catches out of the backfield, so we might be seeing a few more. They might want to feature him a little bit more out of the backfield this week. And then I like the Freeman call. I think that's a little bit off of radar because he's had a bad week and nobody. Cam, are you cool with Kamara, or would you start with Bell?
No, I definitely would start with Kamara just based off his past history here this year. He's just been a stud, and I don't think there's any reason why we can't project that to continue against Atlanta's defense. They're like Kamara's just been a stud, and also I think it's very viable to play Ingram and Kamara on the same lineup, and I don't know if many people would do that. There's been like 3 games this year where they have both gone 20 plus, and it might be a little contrarian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Let's just go with Kamara and stick with that, and then we'll move on to receiver for FanDuel. Let's pick a receiver. Assuming AB plays, I don't know if I really want to go there, and assuming Marshawn Lattimore plays, where would we want to start at receiver? Cam, you go first.
I don't know. I think this is really tough at the top. Like, you have a lot of decisions you have to make. Like I said on that Sunday night, Monday night slate that CK and I did, most of the time Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, they focus a lot of attention on AB and AJ Green. So I don't know if they have as much upside in these spots as guys like Julio and Michael Thomas do on the turf in a potential shootout. So I would either go Julio or Michael Thomas up at the top. I don't have a huge preference right now. If our lineup build right now is going Matt Ryan, I guess it would make more sense for upside and correlation to go with Julio.
What do you think, Johnny?
Lattimore, is he confirmed out, or is he? Because he tried to play this week. I knew that.
We don't know. I said assuming that he's playing.
Okay.
He's gonna play.
Yeah, if I was gonna take any options here, I mean, if we're going with Matt Ryan at quarterback, you got to throw 2 receivers in there for Atlanta on these kind of slates, and that's kind of why I'm not. I don't know. I don't like anybody at the top here, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I like Smith-Schuster in this matchup. I like Brandon LaFell. I think Andy Dalton pairing up with Brandon LaFell, and then maybe with Croft at tight end, I think is a great option. And then you can load up the running backs. So I like that. So I think for me, I think the best plays are in the mid tier.
I agree.
Juju Schuster tonight, and throw it back with LaFell and maybe Sanu. I'm not a Michael Thomas guy, so that's not really an option for me. I don't like AJ Green in this matchup,
Mm-hmm.
especially if Joe Hayden's going to be back. I don't know if we know about that as well. But
So
I
what
would
we want
probably
Sanu to start off with?
Yeah, I'd probably lean Sanu for me if we're going to pair
With Ryan.
With Ryan. Yeah.
All right. And tight end. I mean, there's 3 of them.
So a wasteland, dude. It's a
I
wasteland.
mean, would you just want to throw in Hooper just to throw it, or count on?
Yeah, if you're going with Ryan, I would throw in Hooper for sure.
The full
But I think the
stack now?
top of the top. Well, you want to have two. You want to have 2 options at the running back. I mean, I'm sorry, at the receiver or running back option. So like if you're counting on, Freeman or Coleman as an option, then I would just throw in one receiver or tight end. But if you're gonna go, let's say Kamar, Cam was talking about a minute ago, Kamar and Ingram, then I think that Prof is the best tight end on the slate. And he's had a great history against Cincinnati. So, but I just think that none of these tight ends are just like a must play. So like I would just like fit whoever you can in, make the rest of your lineups work.
All right, cool. Cam, who do you want to pick? And you put in a guy, and we'll move on to a defense. And then we'll
I would just go Hooper to maximize correlation if you're gonna use Ryan here. I think it's kind of a toss up at the top. You're not really saving salary anywhere. I don't know. Croft's obviously the most ideal, but at the same time, he's going to be the highest owned and will increase correlation with Hooper. So,
all right, and defense. There's 2 narratives you could go with here. I think you could go with Andy Dalton is terrible on primetime games when he's like, the man, when everybody's watching him. And you can also go with the narrative of Ben being terrible on the road. So what defense do we want to go through? Because I don't think we want to go with the Saints or the Falcons, or am I wrong about that? With the Falcons, playing the Falcons, I don't think we want to go with having the Saints. So it's either Steelers or the Bengals for me. I would lean more towards the Bengals just because they're at home and it'll be less and save salary maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
In these kind of builds, your defense really doesn't matter much. It's really about what you have left. I mean, honestly, I don't think any of these defenses are going to do any shutdown or anything crazy. And I think that you can definitely save money with the Bengals. I think it just really depends on your build. I mean, $900 can get you a long way. I mean, if it's going to get you a better receiver option or a better running back or option, then maybe you go that way.
All right, cool. Yeah, so this is just real quick, guys. Maybe you could fill in the rest here, but kind of a little start here. We got Matt Ryan and Kamara with Sanu and Hooper, and then the Bengals D. You might want to fill in. Like we said, we could go with Ingram, or you could go with one of the options if you really want to fit in Bell. I guess you could. Do you ever suggest on these 2-game slates playing one guy from the team that you're playing the defense against, Johnny?
Yeah, I think you can. I think you can play, 2 players, whatever. It doesn't really matter for me. It just really depends on your builds. If you really like the rest of your team, defenses. I don't think any of these defenses are going to put up more than 8 points. So I don't think it's going to kill you. I think the kicker's a little bit more important on this slate, and definitely your positional players. So I would say like quarterback to me and defense are probably my last 2 spots I'd fill.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, let's move on to DraftKings and do a little DraftKings build now. Let's see here. The prices are all pretty much the same here up at the top, and then we got Dalton. Why don't we try differently and go with Dalton this time and go down and see how that starts off with? What do you think, Cam? You like that?
That's fine. Works for me.
Johnny, you good with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think on this slate, on DraftKings, like all of them are priced pretty close. Dalton's really cheap at 53, but there's not a huge discrepancy between them. So again, for me, it's just, we can start there. But for me, when I do my builds, I'm going to go by the running back play first.
All right. And now how many lineups would you have tonight on each slate total?
Normally on this slate, these kind of slates, I'll do 5 lineups. This one, because I think that there's some variables that I like, I might do 10, just because I like some of these options, so more than normal. and I want to feel like I want to get a piece of everybody together. So
Mhm.
I think 10 is probably going to be a good number for me.
How about you, Cam?
Probably like 3. I don't usually run out a whole bunch of lineups. Just me personally, I like to like trim it down, but I usually do around 3-ish lineups per slate.
All right, good. Do you play every slate there is, or do you take some off?
I'll take some off if I don't like it, but I think this slate's very interesting with all the different combinations you can go to, but I definitely don't play every single slate. I don't have enough money to do that.
There you go. All righty. So let's move to running back. Who are we starting out here? Are we going? I mean, look, there's $1,000 difference between Bell and Kamara, and we could say that Kamara has a higher ceiling, and then we have Devontae Freeman at 5,800, even better. Where would you guys want to start?
Man, you got to start with Kamara here. He's $1,000 cheaper, and he's got, I think, more upside. Limited touches. Bell has done okay against Cincinnati this season already, but he hasn't hit his value in the last couple of games. So, I mean, he's got to put up almost 30 DK points to hit value. And is he going to do that against a decent Cincinnati defense? I don't think so. So, but Kamara, he could definitely put up 27 points, 26 points. He's done that in a lot of matchups recently. So, I would say Kamara would be my number one.
Let me ask you something, Cam. I got a question for you. If AB is ruled out tonight, do you like Bell more or less? I feel like I like him less because they're just going to key on him more and say I'm going to let Juju and Bryant beat me. What do you think, Cam?
Yeah, I agree. And another kind of thing to touch off that is if AB's out, I feel like a lot of the ownership will kind of funnel towards Bell too, because you get him at 9,400 and AB at 9,800. People have just even more money to spend. So I feel like a lot of people, when they look at these small slates, they try and use all of their salary or most of it. So I definitely think like if AB's out, just Bell's ownership will naturally increase as well. And I agree with you guys. I don't think he's in a terrific spot at all. And I prefer the guys in that New Orleans Atlanta game. So I'm perfectly fine with the fade no matter what situation here.
And remember because it's a game tonight that a lot of people are going to try to jam both of them in because they want instant action tonight. People like to play the plays from tonight, so they're going to stack this game. So if you fade any plays from this game and it works out in your favor, you're ahead of the field because a big portion of the public is going to definitely just try to stack this game.
For sure.
And let me ask you guys something. Let's pick another running back because we have the flex. I don't want to really worry about the flex. Let's pick another running back here. Who are we going with? Are we going with Mixon? Are we going with Coleman? Who would be off the board? If you're building one lineup, Johnny, who are you going with as your second with Kamara?
Yeah, I don't think I could touch Mixon against Pittsburgh with the different options here in running back. It's just not my preferred play. I mean, I don't think Andy Dalton is gonna beat you. So I think that they're gonna be behind the game. They're going to be so far behind. I think that they're behind in this game that they're going to have to go ahead and throw the ball a lot. So Dalton's more of an option for me than Mixon, and I don't think Mixon and Dalton are a good correlation play. So I would fade Mixon in this matchup.
All right, Cam, who would you go with? Would you go with Freeman or Coleman or Ingram, or what would you do?
I kind of told you guys on the FanDuel, and I kind of like the combination of Ingram and Kamara just because you can see in the game logs like they both can coexist and produce fantasy numbers. I don't think they really get in each other's way all that much with the amount of volume New Orleans puts into the run game. So I kind of like Ingram just looking at the other options below him. I don't know. I just don't really like any of those guys down low. Freeman's interesting coming off a couple weeks off. He's a little more healthy, but at the same time, they don't really give him the volume that Ingram really sees, or goal line work's always questionable too. So I personally would just plug in Ingram.
Do you think Ingram would be the third most highest owned running back on DK?
No, because I think a lot of guys are going to try to get in big receivers, so I don't think they can afford that strategy. I think that's a viable strategy. I totally understand where Kemp's coming, and Atlanta's not good against the running back, so I think that's a viable play. I don't know if I'm going to go there in a high percentage of my lineups, but I'll probably have one lineup like that, maybe one or two stacks like that.
All right, why don't we do that just to start off? Okay, so receiver. Where do we want to start with receiver? Do we want to go with a guy like LaFell or Juju, or where do we want to go, Cam, to start off with?
Yeah, I like what Johnny mentioned on the FanDuel side of it. I think LaFell's even more viable on DraftKings with the PPR. He's been getting a lot of targets recently, and just the market share targets over in Cincinnati. If we think that Pittsburgh can get ahead, they'll probably be throwing the ball a little bit more. So I think at 3.5K, LaFell's going to be able to get value there for sure. And then, like we talked about too on FanDuel, I'm not a big fan of the top tier options. I see a guy like Smith-Schuster, if AB plays, they usually bracket AB and kind of try and take him out of the game. So I could see Schuster coming up big here for them. So I like those two guys probably as my favorite wide receiver options, and then just plug in the rest.
All right. Yeah, for me, where I'm at is I'm going to go with if I was going to play any wide receivers from Pittsburgh, it's definitely going to be Bryant or Schuster. I like both those options better than Brown. So that's where I would go. And on the other side of the ball, I like LaFell a lot. He's only 3,500. I don't really like AJ Green in this matchup. He doesn't really perform against Pittsburgh. So those would be the three plays I would go to in this game first.
All right, great. Now let's move on. I just put LaFell in there just to start off with, and let's go to tight end now. Do we want just to throw Croft in there so we have the stack and just to go with that? I mean,
I think so.
I think he's the best best option, and he performed. He put up, I think, over 12 TK points already against them this season, and so I think he's the best option at tight end.
Now, DK, what are we looking at for defense? I wouldn't mind throwing the Saints out there, to be honest with you, but that's just me. What do you guys think?
With this build, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for this build, for sure. I mean, it's the only reason that I'm kind of hesitant is Atlanta plays much better at home. So, yeah, I mean, I think with the way the build's going right now, let's go ahead and throw Atlanta in because we don't have a lot of options.
You mean the Saints?
Atlanta. Sorry, yeah. I mean, I would throw in the Saints because
Saints, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's gonna do it for like the DK, first look build. We got just start off with Dalton, Kamara, Ingram, LaFell, Croft, and the Saints. So you kind of feel like where we're going, and then you got 19-4 left. So you can spend up for another big receiver if you wanted to go with, a guy like Julio. Even if they're playing the Saints, a guy like Julio could get something, something like that. And then the flex spot, you could go with, another running back if you wanted to. Something like that. So, anyways, guys, that's just a quick build. Any last comments, Cam?
Not much. I think just play a little lighter on these 2-game slates. They're fun to play, but at the same time, I think it's a little bit better to spend your money on the main slates or slates where there's a bigger player pool. But I don't know. That's just me personally.
Yeah. Johnny?
Yeah, on these slates, the two things I can tell you is to don't be afraid to go off the board. Don't be afraid to leave money on the table in your lineups. That's a big differential play as well. You got to understand that these cookie cutter lineups, you're going to compete with, whatever the total build is. You're going to compete with a lot of people with the same lineups. And no matter if you think your lineup's different, just understand you're still going to have probably 10 guys that are going to have that same lineup. So leave money on the table, differential plays. And don't be afraid to fade the big chalk. Don't be afraid to fade Bell or Brown. And good luck tonight.
Yeah, and of course, there's a 10-game juicy slate. And if you're a Wise Take member, be sure to join us for the Wise stream today and as well as every day. And we'll be back for Wednesday for the first look for Week 14. Can't believe it. There's only 4 weeks left in the season. And Thursday we'll have the After Hours with Audie again. The game by games we go through. We'll have some more primetime slate lineup first look builds, and of course for the premium members, Saturday once again the Week 14 Wise stream. This week I will be on the Wise stream. So, anyways, guys, for Johnny the Greek, for my man, my young Padawan, the young Jedi Cam, I am Patio Joe, and we are out.
Yeah.